everybody here, Lord, just be with the council as they make decisions for the city, and we just ask this in your holy precious name. Amen.
Misty, would you lead us in the pledge?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Samantha, I apologize. I looked right at you and said your mom's name. You know, she didn't waste any time getting us started either. All right. So we will convene our meeting. We'll start with a roll call. Misty Cottle. Jeff Upton. Jan Throgmorton. Marty Lindaberry. John Collins. Dina McKnight. Don Rollins. Anthony Foster. Our city attorney and city clerk are present. First item on our agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Do we have any thoughts, comments, changes, or motions concerning the agenda as it's laid out?
I make a motion that we approve the agenda as well. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. That motion carries. Next is the approval of our meeting minutes from May 13th. Do we have any comments, changes, or motions concerning those minutes?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes as well. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. That motion carries. Next up is our public forum. We will hold all tower comments and concerns until we get to that part of our agenda. Okay? So if anyone would like to address the council on something other than the tower, now would be your time to do so. Yes, sir.
Real quick, in that Article 14, it says that the mayor is appointed an enforcer, planning, if someone doesn't, there's all kinds of stuff in that.
I will tell you, Mr. Wilkes, your reading of Title 14 of our code, I'm not sure you read the same code that we have. Because, sir, you made some comments that were way out of line with what's allowed in those zoning areas. So yes, the mayor does appoint someone to handle, what am I trying to say? To handle, if you were to come into the city, yes, I've appointed someone that can talk to you about the code. You don't have to talk directly to me or to Walter.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Come on. This is not really cell phone tower related.
It better not be any cell phone tower related.
It's absolutely not. It's just that I wanted to just say to all of you and to all of us that, you know, tonight my youngest daughter, who lives in Philadelphia, just flew in, and I haven't seen her since Christmas. I've got my brand new grandbaby at home who's 1 year old, and I would rather be there, but I'm here because I care about Westport. And I think everyone who's here, and you all of us are here because we care about the town and we want it to be the best it can be. So we're all on the same team, and I just want us to remember that as we commit about what can make our community better and best it can be. That, you know, we may have to find a solution as we struggle with various issues. We might have to find common ground. We might have to be a little patient with each other and be a little creative and look around for solutions. But I think we can find solutions that will make everyone happy, or at least relatively happy. And I just want us to remember that we're all on the same team. You know, we're all on Team Westport. We all live here. We all love the town. We want it to be good. So,
Bonnie, I think that's a great statement. And I think, Bonnie, to take it one step further, just because, and you and I are a great example of this. I love you. I think you like me sometimes, but
I feel the same way about you. I love you. I think you like me sometimes.
but we disagree sometimes,
That's true.
and we still love each other when we walk out of the room.
And we agree a lot of the
We
time.
do. So I want to tell everybody something real quick about Bonnie. So Mayor Baker's here tonight. Mayor Rossetti's in the house as well, so we're well represented. But Mayor Baker, back in the early 2000s, 2007, I believe, was mayor, and Bonnie found a letter the other day, an email that she had sent me, Mayor Baker, from when I was on the city council. And we were having a discussion about bathrooms at Riverside Park and getting rid of those porta potties. That was in 2007. In 2019, we finally got bathrooms at Riverside Park. Sometimes it takes a while, but I thought it was cool that Bonnie come across that, remembered it from the meeting when we were discussing
And
it.
we were on the same team.
We were on that one, weren't we?
And I love those bathrooms, and I use them very regularly.
We know that Bonnie's regular.
So anyway, let's just remember in the conversation, let's be kind to each other and remember that we're all wanting our town to be wonderful. Everybody.
Thank you, Bonnie. Yes, ma'am.
All right, I live on 296 Phillip Street, and we have cars that come through there flying. And it's a dead-end road.
Okay,
And they go over the railroad ties.
okay.
I need somebody to put that there and put a sign down at the thing saying it is a dead-end street. I know GPS hasn't fixed it, so therefore it needs to be done because there's kids that walk down that road. There's people that ride their bikes, walk their dogs and everything else. I don't want to see nobody killed in front of my house.
Okay,
And I sure don't want to get killed in front of my house or my dogs or my stepdad or anybody else.
sure.
And yet, when I call the city, what does the city say? Call the law. Nobody has been sitting out there.
Okay.
That's wild, y'all.
So we'll try to address
And
that.
Josh, what is Sharon's last name? What is
My,
it?
my son's Estes.
Your son, her son was mowing at her house, where her house used to be, and he even seen people come flying
Okay.
up through there.
Okay,
And I don't want nobody to get hurt. My stepdad has a bus that comes. I don't want their drivers to get hurt. Because I don't want to be sued,
sure.
okay?
Okay. We'll look into it, see what we can do.
Put a barrier or something, them concrete things. I don't care if anybody runs over it or what.
Okay,
But I'm just saying, I don't want nobody to get killed on that road. There's old people that walk their dogs down that road.
we don't want them
There's
speeding on any
kids
roads.
that walk down that road, ride bicycles or whatever.
Okay. Yeah, we'll look into it and see what we can do there.
Because it's monotonous. I mean, they turn around in my yard, over, almost hit the gas meter, and almost hit my, water main. So it's like, it needs something to be done.
Okay. We'll look into it and see what
I
we can do.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Ma'am, what was your name? Ma'am,
Laura.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
for the minutes, what's your name?
Laura Cole Davis. Laura Cole Davis.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am?
This is almost surreal to me, but the lady who opened the meeting, she's just exhibited what's gonna happen here. This woman and I have had legal, her family issues over our property line for 30 years, since I bought that place in the 90s and her in-laws had it. I have pending court thing. I'm not gonna yell at her. She's exactly right about what she just said. Because living there at 290 Phillips before they let the guy burn my house down, ran me out of town, and I put up that fence.
Can we stay?
Yes, we can stay right there because.
No, I
again,
want you to stay directed on, what are you asking the council? What are you commenting on, ma'am?
Exactly what she is.
Okay.
It's a dangerous spot. I'm giving you a little history. I know y'all grew up here, but for the folks who just moved to town or whatever, that street had been the original street. And when I had Pat Newland help me buy that old house, which was known as Sylvia Day's old house, which I found out was the McKnight murder mansion house that they had rolled.
Ma'am,
So I'm
there's
trying
too
to
much,
explain
there's
that.
too much history. If you're wanting us
Okay, the
to
point
stop,
is,
if
the
you're wanting us to
history
look at
is
that
what-
street. No, when I'm talking,
Excuse me, sir.
no, when I'm talking, please give me the respect of the chair. I want you to stay focused, ma'am, and if you're talking about the speeding on that street, we
Yes,
are
sir.
going to address that, just
I
like I
am.
told the lady.
I am, sir, if you'll allow me, with all this polite chatter we've had before.
I'm not
since
gonna
you're
let you
very
talk over
patient
me.
At the beginning of the meeting with me, sir,
I'm not
when
gonna
I'm
let you
trying to
talk- I'm not
validate
gonna let you talk over me.
A dangerous situation.
Okay.
And I'm trying to give you history. There was a tree across the street that was cut completely down because it was dangerous for the school buses coming by, because we had speeding dump trucks when they built the highway. Now, when I bought that property, I called the state, and I made sure that road would never be open for the safety of all our children, whether I like my neighbor or not.
Okay, and
It's
ma'am,
about the kids, and that's why I'm here tonight, because I was here for something later.
okay, and we're going to address
please,
that. Thank you.
Westport knows, one, that street can never be open. This is part of the whole picture.
Ma'am,
is
we're
that-
going to address that concern, okay?
Okay, thank you for
Thank
making
you.
it safer, and it's so wonderful to meet you, sir.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to address the council tonight? Yes, sir.
Hey, been a while.
It has.
I'm Mike McLean. I live on White Street. And a year or so ago, someone decided to come in and cut in our street and replace the sewer line.
Yes.
Now, my understanding was, we never had a problem at it. Okay?
Wait a minute, so,
Never had, that's just, never had a problem out of that sewer line through there.
okay, I'm following.
Okay? They fixed it, they replaced it, filled it in. It was rougher than a cob, going down, a river. It was bad. So the idea was go in it and grind it. It's still just as bad. Makes all sorts of noise. And to this day, nothing's been done to fix it.
Yes.
What is going on and what's happening?
Sure. So, to give a little history on the sewer line, that sewer line was full of leaks, of cracks. We were getting tons of I&I in that sewer line.
Okay.
That's the reason it was replaced.
Okay.
It has actually made a huge difference in our I&I since it has been replaced.
Okay.
Now, you know well enough that we have limited resources here in the city. We did that entire project in-house so that we could keep the cost down. I agree, White Street is rough. We patched it the best we could. We did get some asphalt in it instead of just leaving it gravel.
True.
That street is on our paving plan for our next round of state aid in paving. Good question.
Because actually, if someone had done just a little research, they could have put the asphalt in there, rented a decent-sized roller, and gone over. I do commercial construction, multi-million-dollar projects. I would never let that sit like that, ever. I would have kicked them off, I would have brought someone else in, and they would have fixed it, period. No questions asked. When you do stuff like that, all it does is cost people more money. It's gonna cost the city more money to fix it.
So it's not,
There could have been a roller rented, delivered, and they could have, a whole lot better than what there is now. Then later on in the plan, resurface areas would have been fine. But right now, my neighbor, just down the street, trailers go, and it makes all sorts of noise. Most of the traffic drive on the north side. Because where they fix the road is on the south side of the street.
I see what you're saying.
And almost everybody is over there. And then when they have to get over, it's all sorts of racket. I mean,
So
something needs to be done.
I don't disagree, and we had hoped that was already going to be repaved. We did not get our round of funding that we were expecting on it, so we're hoping to get it next year, but there's not a guarantee to that. West Fork's not in the business of repaving,
True.
so we gave it a try. Did we do well? No, we didn't, and nobody's going to sit here and argue that we did a great job on White Street. Nobody's going to argue against the fact that we need to get White Street repaved. And we have it on the plan to get it repaved. And we're going to do it on the state's dime when we do it. So it's not going to cost us more money. The state's going to come in, they're going to repave it for us. I don't have a date for you. I don't disagree that it needs it. Was it out of our wheelhouse? Yeah, it was, but we gave something a shot, and it didn't work out well for us.
Okay. I just, sooner the better.
I understand.
Because y'all don't live there, And you drive through there, it is loud. People drive through trailers. And, you know.
I understand.
Trailer, that makes all sorts of racket.
I understand.
And it's real bad.
Okay.
And it's, I mean, I'm just telling you, like, I would never.
I understand that.
No, never. So,
Okay.
this is my feeling. Also, the traffic on White Street needs to be watched a little better. We're still getting a lot of people think it's a drag strip from one stop sign to another.
Okay. So we've put our radar camera up there several times.
I'm just telling you.
Okay.
It's happening again.
Okay.
You know, it's, you know.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll look into it. Anyone else? All right, we'll close the public forum and move into our business reports.
Sir, before we do that, I'd
Yeah.
like to call an executive session, but, I mean, I apologize, but I think we need to take care of some stuff.
You want to do that on the front end of,
What do you think, now or after?
We call it anytime, just say why. It used to be just a list of all the reasons, but now the law goes into effect on August 4th, and we as well. Well, adhere to it now, so just, you just say what, not necessarily who or anything like that, but you just say why. Is it, you know, discipline, is it hiring, is it employment, so, you know.
personnel based?
Yes.
Okay. Can we do it after the business reports and before we move into our business items?
Yes.
Okay. Is that okay, Tom?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So let's move into our business reports. First up, the Planning Commission, Walter Harnish.
Good evening. So last month, we had 2 lot splits, and we had the application for the rezone, which we just held the public hearing for. The lot splits were pretty straightforward. This month, we do not have any agenda items, so we won't be having a meeting. And then I guess business items, when I'll be making our recommendation.
Yeah, I guess it will be a new business.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any questions? Yeah, pretty kind of a slow month.
Thank you, Walter. Next is the library report.
Okay, so we just had our summer reading kickoff, and we estimated we had about 120 people come, but you know, they're all moving, so we can't 100% guarantee that we didn't count twice or miss some. Last year we had about 80, so that was a really cool thing. I didn't have time to get on the agenda because it happened after that one too. So we had our first in a long time story time in our story garden this morning, and it lasted almost 2 hours because the kids were having so much fun. And so we were really happy about that. We got one of our picnic tables moved to the story garden by one of our wonderful volunteers and her husband, and so we're really excited about having that space starting to come together even more. Also, I was going to invite anyone who would like to join our Around Town Color Our Town scavenger hunt.
Marie, I would like to update on that.
Oh, yeah.
Council members. Oh, yeah. All of them that were open.
Very cool. All right.
I even have my tray on if you would like it back.
So anybody, well, there's more coming, so you better keep it.
Okay.
So if anyone would like a booklet and a list of locations where these are at, all right. One moment, let me
have them all at
rebalance
once,
my
Jan.
stack here. But we're going to have this going all summer long, which is, I'm super pumped about. You have a favorite color? Think you think so? Matches your shirt? Okay. Thank you. Anybody else?
Slackers.
So today I was chatting about like how long we've been doing XYZ for with staff, and they're like, you know what? How long have we? So I went over to our history wall and I realized that in 1975, June 30th, the library board's agenda was to vote for establishing a public library in the city, which was 50 years ago. And so I'm hopefully gonna go and find some notes from the city council too from around that time. But we opened a public library in Westport on August 23rd, 1975. So our wheels are starting to turn on how we can celebrate this.
Interesting. I did not know that. Any questions for Marina? No? Okay. Thanks, Marina. Police Department, Chief Halliburton.
All right, for the month of May, we had 423 calls for service. We took 28 reports, issued 61 citations, over 76 warnings. We issued 54 warrants, served 54 warrants, and had 1 felony arrest and 5 misdemeanor arrests. As Sergeant Goggins told you at the last meeting, that we had the new weapon systems in, and they're scheduled to make the transition on the 16th to that weapon system. And Greenland will be covering for the city during that transition, because they're all hands will be on deck for that transition.
Any questions for the Chief? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, Public Works, Isaac.
Not much to report. We are full steam ahead on Rock Creek utility relocation. That'll be followed immediately by 170 utility relocation. I think we have till August to move the water main out of the way for Rock Creek, August of this year, and I think for September of next year to have all the utilities out of the way for the bridge project. So it's gonna be busy.
And so I understand you got us some extra reimbursement?
Yes, so as of right now, they are both 50/50. They will reimburse 50% for both projects, so.
So initially they were gonna reimburse us 30%?
33.7, and that was on Rock Creek, and right at like 37 on 170.
You just have to look at water line at Rock Creek.
Just water line, yeah. And as usual, right on par, we had a water leak there this weekend, so we're just a week or so late. But Riverwood is open, the tile is in, the walls are up. Josh Corbett is gonna come back and fix some honeycomb areas on the wall, and we have agreed to pay Emery Sap to come. They're gonna do a street patch on that, as well as another one over here. So that should be wrapped up. He said they're pretty far behind with rain, so I'm hoping in the next week or so. It is passable right now. It seems to be working pretty well. We've had a couple of pretty good sized rains that had no flood, so hopefully it's a win-win for everybody. I know them people right there will be tired. We'll be glad to see water not running through the yard, so. In the rain, we have still been chasing I-9. We have found a manhole at Sycamore that we're replacing right now. We're digging on it right now. And we have found a spot down in Rivendell where it appears that Ozark Go has bored through our sewer main. So I've got Carl Holly Plumbing. Our camera is still down. Carl Holly Plumbing is going to come and do some camera work. We're going to do 2,500 feet there and some at the school as well. So as we have, through the elementary playground, we have something, well, I'm going to assume tree roots grown through it there that we're getting a lot of water in there. So in that biggest rain, we pegged out at 1.5 million. That's the biggest we've been in quite some time, but we don't typically get rains like that. So my big concern was that it took about an hour to hit us, so it's a direct endpoint, and that's what we're trying to And even though y'all don't see Nick anymore, I still have him in the background. Him and I have been talking about trying to get somebody down there in the summer months to do some smoke testing as a way to try to find stuff. So that is also something that the plumbing outfit outside on Carl, they do smoke testing as well. So, and they do main cammering and everything. So they are a pretty good tool to have at our disposal. So yes, it is all water and sewer.
Any questions for Isaac?
Thanks for getting that reimbursement.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened. Thank Zach. Zach did some magic there, I guess so.
That's good.
It's going to amount to quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yes. Smith Street is, we were talking about this thing, 7? 5?
I think it's 7.
7 lots from being built out. I haven't heard anything on the cottages at the River Bend. Last time, we were still working through some spec stuff, but they were getting ready to pull the trigger on getting utilities into that lot as well. So I'm assuming that one will come shortly after they wrap up here, so.
Okay. Nice. Nothing for Isaac? All right, thank you, sir. Parks Director Harrison.
You sit in front. So I'll start with the restrooms at Riverside that you mentioned. I don't want to correct you in front of everybody, but it's actually 2021. Sorry, that we put them in.
Thanks a lot, Chad. Everybody bought it.
It was budgeted in 2007.
I agree.
Me and Mayor Rossetti looked into them and tried it one time as well. I gotta admit, I fought them for quite some time. But speaking of the restrooms, they've been great until lately we had our first act of vandalism on them. Someone went in there and did some graffiti, paint, and some markers and different things. We tried cleaning it as best we could. That didn't work, so we wound up just painting over most of it. It was finally all cleaned up. But that is really the first anything significant that we've had down there. So with the crowds and some of the people that we do draw, it's not bad. It's not bad. Hopefully that's the last we have. But it has been taken care of, and and it's starting to get busy down there again. But so far that's our only issue. Baseball and softball season is wrapping up. My last games for the regular season are actually tonight, so I may go back down there a little bit. But it's gone really well after tournaments next week, and that'll be the end of it. But I can't give enough credit to my umpires. I'm telling you that they make my job so much easier down there. Some of them are in the room, some parents of some of them are in the room, and I'm just telling you, I've got good umpires and they do a good job. And it's made my season a lot better. I don't have any of the issues that a lot of the other towns do. But it's going well. We're going to wrap that up soon. And then the other thing is the 4th of July. I just want to give you all kind of update with where we're at there. It is on the 3rd. We've got our advertisement out. It's on the marquee. Starting to get information out there about that. All of the vendors, food trucks, inflatables, all that type of stuff is scheduled and ready. Several of the volunteers are also set up and ready to go. We're meeting tomorrow, just kind of finalize everything, but we're expecting a really good turnout and a great event again. We won't be giving out free food again this year, but there will be food trucks on site. We've added some food trucks this year to make for a quicker service and better service. So we've also increased our budget a little bit for the fireworks. So the fireworks show is as good as it's been in the past, in my opinion. It's been a really good show, one of the best, but it's going to be a little bit better as well this year. So and that's about it. That's all I got for now.
Any questions for Chad?
I have a question, Chad.
Okay.
Down the swings down at the park, is there stuff to fill in those holes underneath them?
There is, and we've done that. Unfortunately, just
Just where
kicks back out or washes out, or as they swing, it kicks back out.
Yeah, I was down there with some big.
Yeah, there's some mud holes under there after the rain and stuff. But we haven't done it in a while, so we'll try to maybe, when we get through ball season and stuff, give them more time to try to get down there and smooth it back out.
Chad, do you know what tournament you're getting?
I do not. I have a meeting, our meeting to set those won't be until Friday.
So something Chad brought up last week was next year is the
You brought it.
250th year.
I'll give you credit. You brought
Right.
it.
So it's 250 years of America. It comes next year. Chad said that he and I probably wouldn't make it around to see the actual 300. So we should do something big for 250 on our 4th of July celebration next year.
Well,
I think so,
something
Chad.
extra special, I guess.
Okay. I've been trying to get him for years to get the last firework to say WF. He hasn't done that for me. Maybe we can get 250.
Right after the Christmas lights on the block. Right after we get that done, we'll get that.
Anything else for Chad? Thank you, sir.
Good job.
And next, the fire department, Chief Howerton.
Good evening.
How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
May was kind of nice. We slowed down a little bit. We ended with 92 emergencies, 8 of those being fires. That put us at, we're up about 150 for the year this far. At the end of May, we were sitting about 520 calls, so we're averaging about 104 a month, which is up quite a bit. So apologize for the fuel bill, but that's going to be there. Other things, inspections have been going really well with the new fire marshal position. We've had 82 commercial building inspections thus far for the year, and 14 different public education events. The fire marshal's office takes care of both of those, so just want to let you know that that position's going well. We're getting quite a bit in that. And lastly, June 28th, which is a couple Saturdays from now, fire department's going to be doing some live fire training burns. Just wanted to extend an invitation to anyone that might be interested in coming and seeing how that plays out. If you'd like to watch or even participate, we can probably work something out. If that's something you'd be interested in, to kind of see what you're putting your money, reach out to me and we'll make that happen.
Any questions for TJ? All right, thank you, sir. And next is the finance report.
Finances are getting better, slowly but surely this year, we're getting a little better. So our bank balances have decreased by 72,000. Last month, I think it was around 172,000, so we've built it back up a little bit from where we were. Our departments in full are 36,000 over budget, which is also improving from the first of the year. Large purchases that we always do, we are always heavy on our expenditures at the first of the year, so I do foresee those all straightening themselves out. Hopefully we won't have a lot more building maintenance issues unexpected coming up the rest of this year. Our sales tax for the year is up. Our city sales tax is up 10.5%, and the county sales tax is up 6.6%. On the water and wastewater, our bank balances are down about 34,000, but we are under budget by 134,000. If you'll look down at the bottom, our sewer income we were 18,000 to the good between our sewer income and expenses this month. For the year, we are at 98,000 to the good, which is much better than we were this time last year. You see our last payment to Fayetteville was only 24,000. I do expect our next 2 months to be much higher, so we'll keep our fingers crossed and hopefully we can still make enough income in the months to support that, but if not, we've got a buffer in there from the first couple of months of the year. I also have the court report in there. Their distributions this month were $35,000. Year to date, they're at $152,000. Last year at this time, they were at $207,000, so they're down over $50,000 so far for the year. We are working on changing that report. Hopefully, it'll be a little bit easier to read and still have some good information on there that will just be a little bit less confusing to understand. Hopefully next month we'll have a little bit more clear report for that. Other than that, we are working with the auditor right now. He's working on the 2024 audits. I expect both of those to be done sometime in July. We've been going back and forth quite a bit to get information for them. This last weekend, we did have the citywide cleanup. They had 119 loads go through. I think there was like 50 on Friday and 69 on Saturday. So those sound like good numbers, but they're really not anywhere close to what we used to do, which is why we've gone to just one cleanup a year. 119 is better than none. But those are going really smooth. I think people are very appreciative that those are available to them. So. Other than that, I do hope everybody's had a chance to see our new website. If not, please get on and look at it. It's really good. I do want to publicly thank Amanda Redmond. She has put a lot of time into it, a lot of training, online training with the website developers so that she can keep it up to date for us. And she's doing excellent. There is a mobile app available. It's out there already. It is not up to date yet. Not quite sure why they put it out there and made it available yet. I got on there today and was looking and I was like, oh, we've got some not good information on it yet. So, but by this time, by our meeting next month, that app should be up and running. It's going to make it a lot easier for people to just have the website right at their fingers. I think the website in general is just a lot easier to find. We're going to be able to keep it completely up to date on our own instead of relying on having to send somebody else the information to update it for us. All of the departments will be able to go on and update the calendar, update their Facebook pages and everything from the website so that it'll also bring all the departments kind of information all in one place too. So we're excited about it. I think it looks really good. And we're wide open for suggestions. If anybody sees something that needs to be tweaked or changed or added, we're open to those also. So. Any questions?
No questions for Christine? Okay. Thank you, Christine. All right. That concludes our business reports. We will now go into executive session. So for what that means to everybody is you can stay right where you are. The council is going to move into the old council room. So since we've got such a large crowd, let's just move there and we'll come back and reconvene. Reconvene the meeting. We've had an executive session to discuss a personnel issue, and we will take no action on that tonight. That will bring us into item B of our agenda, procedural motions for all ordinances on the agenda.
I'll make a motion to suspend the rule.
I second it.
So we have a motion to suspend the rule and read by title only. Any ordinances that are on the agenda tonight. And we will do a roll call on that. Misty Cottle?
Yes.
Jeff Upton,
Yes.
Jan Throgmorton,
Yes.
Marty Lindaberry,
Yes.
John Collins,
Yes.
Dana McKnight, Don Rollins,
Yes.
Anthony Foster.
Yes.
All right, that motion passes. Next item on the agenda is old business. Council discussion regarding revisiting the Verizon cell phone contract. And so we've got a lot of people here tonight to talk about that, and I'm glad you're here. We're going to talk about it just like we did last time, and I hope everybody has an opportunity to say your piece on it. I do want us to keep it succinct. We've got a large crowd tonight. I do discourage repeating what somebody else has already told us, okay? I want to hear your opinion, but if somebody else has said the same thing that you're saying, we've already heard it, and we're going to take it under consideration. I don't want us to take up time away from someone else who might have had a novel topic to bring up on it. So I want to encourage you to talk to me. Don't take me wrong there. Just bear that in mind as we're moving through it. So before we get started with public comment, I know some have asked, why is this here? Somebody sent me an email or sent the council an email asking, I thought we had already discussed this and it was over. We did have a discussion about this, and the council, after a couple of motions, decided not to move forward with it. After that happened, the representative for Verizon said, hey, can I have some time at the city council? And what I want you guys to know is, I'm willing to hear you. I'm willing to hear anyone that wants to come and talk to us, okay? So that's why we're here, is the representative for Verizon requested to come talk to the council. We put that on the agenda. About, 5 or 6 of you guys showed up for that meeting. It wasn't a big crowd that night, but we hashed out again. We answered some questions. We asked some questions. After that meeting, or after talking to the representative from the tower company, the council said, hey, let's rediscuss this. Let's have another meeting. Let's discuss it again. There was some talk about, did we like the contract? Did we not like the contract? Where we went on this. There was some new information came out about the tower. We probably should have had the tower representative here the first night we talked about it. We didn't. We'd never had him here before when we talked about it. We'd never had a crowd here before when we talked about it. Like I said, we started talking about it back in 2020, and none of you guys were showing up. So, I just want to get us all recapped, where we are, how we got here. I don't want anybody to think we're trying to do anything behind your back. That's not the way we operate. The information is public. We're going to have it in a public hearing. We want to know what you want to say, but we also are going to respect everybody else that wants to talk about it. Now, with that being said, we have our representative from the tower company. I'm going to let him give a presentation, and I'm going to have him sit down because I don't want audience members bombarding him with questions. And so I think all of you were here in the prior meeting. This isn't going to turn into the planning commission meeting. We're going to talk one at a time, and we're going to respond one at a time, okay? Everybody's going to respect everybody's time to speak. We're not going to be asking questions from the audience, and we're not going to be asking questions directly to the representative. We're going to give him the respect of not feeling like we're attacking him. So attack me. That's what I'm here for. But Brent, if you want to come up and just give us some updates on where we're at. I think you've got some pictures. There was a picture out front of what the tower would look like.
Good afternoon. My name is Brant Ratcliffe. I'm working for Verizon Wireless in Vertical Bridge Towers. Vertical Bridge is doing a build-a-suit for Verizon. Obviously, because there's a gap in coverage here in West Fork, where there's a hole. You have Verizon service. You can see your coverage is not very good. I've got one bar here, but that's the objective here, is to cover downtown West Fork. And last month when I came here, there was a couple of concerns about the tower. Just to recap, the tower is 150 foot tall. It's a monopole. We built a tower in Hot Springs last year, I've got some pictures here of it, and they kind of, the Hot Springs is kind of the gold standard of cell tower ordinances. They're pretty tough. So this is a picture of what the tower would look like.
Well, once we look at these, we can pass them back out. Yeah, just look at it and we can pass a couple around the room.
What Hot Springs said was, you put the tower there, there's residential houses all around this tower, there's businesses all around this tower. What their objective here is to do a tricolor tower and kind of blend it in with the surrounding trees, the sky, and then, so if you look at it, the bottom part is a green color to blend in with the trees. And then above that, the next third of it is kind of a light bluish color to blend in with the sky, and then the top of it's a white color. So that's kind of been all their towers in Hot Springs are, designed like that. So, and that's something we can do here at Westport to help with the aesthetics of it. This tower doesn't have any guide wires. It's freestanding. It's a monopole tower. As far as cell towers go, it's the best looking tower that you can do. Just a couple other things I was just going to mention while I'm up here. So I printed this off the American Cancer website, and just to kind of give everybody an idea of how cell towers work. And this also answers questions about, you hear people say it causes cancer. Well, this is coming off the American Cancer website. It says, cell phones communicate with nearby cell towers mainly through RF waves, a form of energy in the electromagnetic spectrum between FM radio waves and microwaves. Like FM radio waves, microwaves, visible light, and heat, they are forms of non-ionizing radiation. This means they do not directly damage the DNA inside cells, which is how stronger ionizing types of radiation, such as X-rays, gamma rays, and ultraviolet rays, are thought to be able to cause cancer. So just to give everybody, kind of update on that. One last thing, before I got here, I went to the tower site across the highway, and it's a guide tower. It's got 3 carriers on it, so it's maxed out. So Verizon can't go on that tower. But there's a house, when I pulled up there's a house 200 and...
Which tower is this?
It's across the interstate, on top of the hill.
This one up here?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. So there's a house 256 feet away from this cell tower. It's been there for a long time. This tower here, there's a house to the north, 277 feet, and then there's a house almost 400 feet to the south. That's almost double the height of the tower from these houses, almost triple on the south side. So, and I think the property is zoned commercial, if I'm not mistaken. It's not residential. So, anyway, anybody have any questions? I can try and answer them.
So let's let the council ask any questions we have, and then we'll get to the public and see what we have there.
Okay.
Does the council have any questions for Brandon?
Is the tower 180 or 150? I've heard both.
I think I said 180 last
Yes.
time. It's 150.
150.
Yeah. I looked at my notes.
Okay.
That's correct. So it's 150.
And due to that size, there are no beacons on top of it.
I'm sorry. There's no lights. Anything under 200 feet does not be required to be lit per FAA. Anything over 200, it would have to be lit. So there's no lights.
Just to kind of voice, we've received some emails and things like that, so I'm just going to try to let you answer some of those. And I know you talked about the last meeting, but everybody wasn't here then. So some of the things that have been asked is like, is there not another location, or why can't this be put somewhere else? So can you speak to why you've chosen that location?
I talked to a family across the railroad tracks about location there, and this was years ago. This was probably 4 or 5 years ago. I got the feedback that the city did not want the tower site there. And then that's when Isaac and I started looking for other locations. And before I talked to Isaac, I looked at a site by the river, and I think the city didn't want it there. We looked at a couple of sites across the river where that commercial zone property was, and that wasn't in favor too. And after I talked to Isaac, we kind of said, hey, this looks like a good spot. It's not residential, it's commercial.
I guess the other thing I want you to address is that you picked this spot because it meets a need in that particular area. So we can talk about that.
Yes, ma'am. So, like I said, there's a gap in coverage here. I can get on my cell phone.
Well, you showed us a really pretty
Yeah.
map last time.
Yeah,
So.
it's the same. So that's why they're wanting this location. It optimizes their coverage objective here for downtown Westport. And it's basically, covering their gap in coverage here. So, if they move it a mile, 2 miles out of the way, it could affect their coverage objective here, and it might not work for them.
So if you put it up on the hill, it's not going to meet the same objective.
Yeah, because, so Westport's in a hole kind of compared to the mountain behind us. Those antennas could overshoot the hole here in Westport, and it needs to be it's on the same elevation as the areas we're trying to cover.
If the city was to maybe propose a different location on city property, would Verizon be opposed to that if it met if it still met, like you said, you had a couple of places that you had looked at previously. Could you enlighten us on what that is and what
So, I think Isaac and I looked at a location to the north in the city park possibly. The RF engineers looked at that location and it was too far north.
It was too far north?
Yes. Now back to the south, but I don't think the city had any property to the south.
Okay. Now, is that due to the height restrictions that you have for this certain tower, or is that just in general, like if it's instead of the 150, which was supposed maybe 180, and it was further north, would that disrupt your needs, or the needs that you guys were looking for?
I'm not the RF engineer. That's something they would have to look at. But they did, 150, 180, if it's not the right location, it's probably not going to work for them. Typically, we have to be within like a half a mile of where their hole and their coverage is. If we go outside that, it doesn't maximize their coverage objective. So it's specific to where, they're trying to get coverage inside houses. They're trying to get where people work, where people play, where all the activity is.
Oh, I understand.
And if they can't get there, there's a safety factor too involved. If you don't have cell phone service and somebody's needing help in 911, they can't get outside their house. So they need to be, in those areas where everyday life happens.
Anyone else?
Somebody mentioned to me, just as they were talking about their concerns, they said the city doesn't actually own that much property, so why would we want to give up a piece of property that we own that then we can't use for other future needs? So what about that?
From my perspective? How big is this space that you're leasing?
It's 80 by 80, so an acre.
But doesn't that render that whole area kind of,
So it's going to take 160 feet of that out of service. So I'll just tell you something I've talked about on that property. This will be news to everybody. Is potentially one day that will be the new fire and police station, maybe city admin courts. So that's something that I think, is that tomorrow? No, it's not tomorrow, but if we're thinking about growth in the city, and those are definitely things that we could expand upon, that would be a piece of property that the city currently owns that we could utilize for that type of facility. I don't know if it's a secret, but it's been talked about on several occasions. A developer trying to package together those houses on the north side of the school, from the elementary school, and potentially have an outlet that comes through city property to access that instead of turning off of 170 into that. So in either of those cases, there's plenty of property to do all of that. So from my perspective, is it going to hamper city future plans? No, not as far as I'm concerned at this point.
And to circle back to what you were saying, if I understood you correctly, for what is available as far as being able to talk to private entities and the city, that is the most viable location for the most operative, it's the most operative location for a cell phone tower. Other locations are not viable or not as good for the company's needs.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. If the city needs a spot on that tower, if the police department or the fire department needs an antenna on that tower, they will allow the city to put an antenna on the tower free of charge.
And that is something that the PDE has, especially after your last meeting, you brought that up. There has been some talk from the PD specifically about that and some needs that have served. Justin, can you talk to that just for a minute? What you were talking to me about in the parking lot?
Oh, yes, sir. Basically, we were looking at options for how we have really, I don't want to say we have poor radio coverage, but we have radio coverage issues in the city. We're kind of at that minimal point, and they're looking at upgrading the West Fork Tower and doing some other things. But one of the things I have looked at is actually, could we use, like we said, we'll have space there, potentially something like maybe GMRS or some other radio service. It would not only, one, be a public service to everybody, anybody can use that, but also that would be a redundant communication system for us. Because actually, before, I don't know where I was at with our conversation, I didn't give you, update you on that, probably blindsiding you, sorry. To actually get a repeater as far as a WIN statewide network is hundreds of thousands of dollars in a master plan, so that's probably not viable for this. But we could have another line of communication that would, one, be a public service for everyone in the area to use with inexpensive radios. And I assume this is going to be on a battery backup for a few days, independent of things. And even if that tower goes down, if the fiber line was cut, it still could produce, or just with power, and even us parking the generator on there and connecting to it, would provide a line of communication for the public and the city that would be completely separate from everything else. We have another layer of communication. That's kind of what we're looking at. I could probably talk for an hour on it, but I'm sorry. It's an opportunity. If it happens, it's a great opportunity to take advantage of that and have another avenue of communication that the public could use and services.
I have one more on that, but this is, I know the proposal that Verizon has given to the city of what the compensation to the city would be. Would Verizon be comparable to adjusting that?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay.
They agreed to go up 25% on the monthly rent, so.
Is there any other things that they're willing to do with it as far as just, other than the 5%? I mean, is what we're talking about here is your company putting something on city-owned land or renting the city-owned land? Would you be willing to some sort of reasonable negotiations to come to an agreement that could make the city happy?
Sure.
Awesome.
Yes, sir.
So one last thing, sorry, I'm asking too many questions, but just in the interest of providing the same information for our visitors that we have, like, can you speak to some of this information about, like, how you compare the radio frequency, or the frequencies from the cell phone tower to other daily devices? So can you kind of tell them about the stuff that we have in our packet?
Yeah.
Do you want my packet?
I just read it off. Let's see. So So baby monitors, Bluetooth headsets, wireless laptops, Wi-Fi, cordless phones, compared to this cell tower. The cell tower is lower in RF frequency waves than all these devices except for the Wi-Fi and the baby monitor. But it's all below regulation. These cell towers are all over the place. They're on hospitals, they're on buildings, they're on water tanks, they're everywhere. You might not notice them, but they're inside the hospital. So the doctors aren't, if they think this is damaging people's DNA cells, they're not going to allow this type of transmission in a place like that. So there's no evidence of any kind of health concerns or causing cancer from these cell phone towers.
Other than Fayetteville, Springdale, how many of the other small towns have cell phone towers within them, or are you aware of?
What cities?
The small towns within Washington County or within the Northwest Arkansas region, how many of them actually do have cell phone towers within their city limits?
We're up here all the time, getting these tower sites approved in Washington County, in the city limits of Fayetteville. There's a lot of activity going on. I can't give you a number, but there's
what I'm saying is, would you say there's one in Greenland? Is there cell phone towers in Greenland or
There's one in Greenland,
Prairie Grove,
Farmington.
Would you say that there are?
Yeah.
That's what I was getting at. So all other small towns in my area do have cell phone towers
Yes, sir.
of some sort. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sir. Right now, we're talking about a lease, I think, right?
Correct.
It was unsigned by the city and your company. There's no application to locate towers, is there? You made application to locate.
I don't believe so. I don't believe we've made an application. We talked about the lease. We've got a survey completed. We've got some elevation drawings, as far as height and stuff. But as far as a building permit goes,
Right.
no, sir.
Exactly that. That's what I just wanted to sort of clarify. That's right, council.
Any other questions?
So this is to help Verizon customers, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
How many Verizon customers do you have within the city limits of Westport?
Well, there's people coming and going, so that's a tough question to answer. As far as the number, I don't know if they necessarily look at that. They look at their coverage maps, and they see, we've got a dead spot here, we've got a hole in coverage over here, we need a tower there. That's kind of what their main objective is.
I guess my question was, like, how many customers do you have? Then how many of those are complaining that they don't have good service? Is kind of what I was wondering. Like, how many people is this actually helping with Verizon?
I was thinking, it's got interstate on the west side and a state highway on the east side and west side. So it's, users for Verizon are going north and south, and I'd have to get back to them on that as far as the direct population of Westport.
Well, you have one that don't have very good phone service a mile from here.
So, like, if someone doesn't have good service, how come they don't just switch to another carrier?
Wow.
Better service.
So my question is for clarification on that, you're talking about the dead spot being from Verizon customers going from transferring from one cell tower to another cell tower as they are transferring through, whether it's they're going here as their final destination and staying here, or they're passing through and not dropping calls or dropping services while passing through in this area. Is that correct? Okay.
Did you have anything else, Mindy?
No, thank you.
Anyone else over here?
I did just read something that I thought was interesting that I hadn't noticed before. And it says, it's on this one sheet here on the bottom. It says, according to the report, having more cell phone towers reduces the amount of radio frequency emissions from the cell phones because they don't have to work as hard to get the signal. I mean, it doesn't damage your health.
Holding your phone to your face will cause more damage than the cell phone tower will. I know my face gets hot. My cell phone.
Anyone else? Okay. Go ahead and have a seat. We'll see what questions we have. I may defer to you.
Okay.
But we'll try to keep anybody from asking direct questions to you, just so that we keep a civil tone. All right, who wants to go first? Yes, sir.
I'm on Verizon. I don't have any problems.
Okay.
I live about half a mile from here. What I wanted to bring up is there's a movement across the country protecting schools from towers within a quarter of a mile. That seems to be something that's kind of contradicting the safety for young children. And I know that this location is within a quarter mile of the elementary school.
Do you know if the other location is?
Southall, Oklahoma, you should contact them.
No, I'm saying, do you know if that other tower, and this, I'm just asking, so we have a tower that sets up on the hill, is that over a quarter of a mile? Just over.
On Breaker Mountain.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's a movement like that throughout the country. A lot of the districts are banning cell phone towers within 1,500 feet, a quarter mile from the school, especially the elementary schools. Just want to bring that up, and I guess that's about it. Anyway, I don't like the idea.
Okay, you're not for the idea.
No, you know, people's concerns about the health issues are, that might bring property values down also.
Okay.
If anybody wants to live next to a cell phone tower, high line, high transmission wire, anything like that.
Okay, we appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, council. I want to start, something that you said, Mayor, was one of my big concerns about, could that land still be used for anything else, or does the tower completely take over that? So that made me feel a little bit better. I did have a couple of just kind of like brain dump type thoughts. Just the fact that we don't allow billboards anywhere in the city, but that this somehow, just because it doesn't have a phone number on the top of it, it's all of a sudden not a billboard. So I just think that the problem that people have with billboards is not the fact that it's an advertisement up at the top, but it's the fact that it is so tall. So just something that, yes, technically, legally, a tower can go in there. It doesn't break any codes or zoning, which it's ag, right? Not commercial.
Yes.
That spot. It changes it a little bit. And then I was hoping to maybe hear a little bit more about what the face of the tower would look like. I've got some photos of the one in Prairie Grove.
Did you get to?
I did, yeah,
Okay.
and it looks a lot like that, where it's
Okay.
just these big generators and electricity things and fences that say danger and just a really big offensiveness to the eye, especially so close to our very beautiful and lovely fire truck memorial that we have right there. That is a very beautiful and peaceful spot in the middle of town, with now all of a sudden that. And then I also was curious, we were talking about the antenna that the city could put on it, for city works and fire and police, and wondering if that has, like the tower up on the hill has 3 users on it and that's maxed it out. Does the antennas that we would put on for the city, does that go into that like max out how many things can be on the tower, other companies, does that factor into it, or is it just a max like only AT&T and that type of, does that make sense? And then I don't understand how the tower location has to be so specific. Like it's, you know, a spot down at Riverside or up at, you know, or down at Carter Park, that's too far away, but that the tower is somehow supposed to fix a gap in coverage for people passing through on the interstate. That if it has to be so particular in that spot, how is that gonna help this perceived, you know, we're talking about, oh, there's a highway on this side, an interstate on this side, and it's gonna help those people ping in from tower to tower, that it has to be exactly in that spot for that to work. So, I don't.
So would you be okay with it if it was in another spot?
Potentially.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
fair enough.
that was all I had.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Thank everybody first, appreciate your time, and especially you. I imagine you should be home with your family right now.
Thank you.
Where are they at? I'm sorry. Thank you for being here. So, I don't like the thought of being a guy that takes a man away from his family. You know, lots of concerns regarding this from the health aspect of it. From my aspect of it, it is what I would consider to be, it's not going to be beautiful to look at, even regardless of how you paint the bottom half of it. It is what we are going to see towering above our trees. And it's going to be an eyesore, and lots of studies do show that they are damaging to property values. You've answered or got some great questions, and I appreciate it. It was very informational, Mr. Foster. I appreciate your time and the questions that you asked. They're very informative. But in the long run, to me, it is about the height of the tower. But I also know that the height of the tower is needed to achieve your objective. But there are possible alternatives that we must consider before we decide on how we're going to move forward with this. If the tower is smaller and it's not towering above the trees, that does affect its effective range, which would require additional towers in to be able to achieve the objective. It's not as cost effective, but it is not as much of an eyesore.
So are you suggesting that we get multiple towers in West Fork?
I don't want towers that are towering above trees. And I don't know what that's going to do to the effectiveness of your goal of what you're trying to achieve.
So you would be good with multiple towers in town instead of one?
I think we need to do a lot of exploration on this before we can make a decision on how we want to do it. To me, it's about the eyesore of it, towering above our city and our trees and everything like that.
Well, you just advocated for multiples instead.
I did not advocate for anything. Thank you. I said, I don't know what that does to the effectiveness and range of it. If it would require more towers or not. That's what I'm
Most likely
saying.
would, because you would take away from the amount of signal that you put through a tree versus above a tree.
Now, you seem to know more about it than I do.
I've done a lot of research on it, more than I think I should have had to.
I have a quick question with you on that, with your argument being the fact of, that one cell phone tower brings down property value. If we did do, like you were saying, or not necessarily advocating for, but a possibility of, wouldn't then multiple of them even further bring down versus just the one?
Yep.
Okay, all right.
Yes. But I'm just saying, I don't know how that affects if the tower is not as tall. If that would require that to become the reality of it. So, I mean, I'm advocating for a tower that's not as tall, but I'm not advocating for more towers.
So you are in favor of the tower?
Bring in the effectiveness. You seem to have done a fair bit of research on that. Okay.
So are you advocating for the tower or against?
I am against a tower that is higher than the trees.
Okay,
Okay?
fair enough.
But here is the other side of it that is important for everyone in the room to understand. If we allow one company to put in a tower, then by law, we cannot exclude any other companies from putting up towers either. No,
That's absolutely incorrect.
that is what I've read, and I can.
Sorry.
Okay, be sorry if you want.
No, I'm not trying to be a smart aleck. I'm just saying I'm sorry that you've read something that's mistaken. So all we're here is, we're talking about a tower on city property that is permissible. There's plenty of properties in West Fork that a tower is not permissible, whether somebody else comes in and whether we allow this one or not. So that doesn't have anything to do with another tower company coming in and us having the ability to not allow it.
Well, we don't have any ordinance or guidelines or anything that limitates towers, is that?
No, we do, we do. So in most, I shouldn't say in most, in several areas across the city, someone would have to apply for a conditional use permit before they could put a tower up. This is city property, so that's not a requirement. So yes, there is language within Title 14 that specifically talks about this.
From the last meeting, I got the impression that we talked about, comments were made that if voted no on the tower, that would still not stop the tower because they could put it up.
They could, but they would have to have another meeting such as this before they could do so.
Okay, so it's not like someone on with private property to say, yeah, put a tower up here, we're okay with it.
Some people could do that. Some people could, and it could go up tomorrow. Other people would have to come for a conditional use permit. It just depends on how their property is zoned.
Okay.
So certain zonings would
Yes.
allow it without any.
That's my understanding, yes.
Provocation. So then, would we be able to do any ordinances that would, within the city limits, that could change that or not?
We certainly could. We could certainly do an ordinance to change that. The Planning Commission in Title 14 passed an ordinance saying that no billboards could be put out on Interstate 49. So yes, that's within our power. It's not something that we thought we needed to move on, to be honest, yeah.
Okay. So that would have to be brought up as a new, okay, understand that. So within the room here, I mean, I can only speak for myself. I mean, obviously it's an issue for me, for it just being an eyesore. I know with a lot of other people, the whole issue is based on something so different, and that's okay. But please, by all means, if you have a concern, don't let your concern go unheard.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, all right. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. Sharon Davison, 290 Phillips. I am against this cell phone downtown, not because of my property on 290 Phillips, but because of its location to the school, and it's destroying our downtown. As to all the beautiful things we've been doing with the library and everything, to have that tower down there. And then on the city property card, mine's R1. I don't know if the city has that carved out as commercial for the water department. Never heard that. I just know my Woolsey Bridge is still sitting back there in the weeds. But, sir, to close, it should not go downtown for the city of West Fork, for the citizens, for the children, and it's against our best interest. And I'm afraid you're gonna, not from me, but there will be people that will consider it litigious. And I think you're setting yourself up for that. So thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I'm Steve Green. The discussion so far has been about city property, placing it on city property. But as I understood, it could be placed on private property.
Sure. We're here to discuss city property because that is where they have proposed putting it. So,
Right. So if it happened that you denied city property, then they could still consider private property.
That's certainly a hypothetical that we could run
And
with.
then the meeting that, 2 meetings ago that kicked this off, I believe Ms. McKnight recused herself from the vote. And excuse me if I don't get this quite right, but I believe I heard that the family had property that could have been considered for the cell tower, and she didn't consider it ethical for her to vote for something.
I don't think
in a
she made
way
it, I don't
that
think she
would-
made it quite that public, but yeah, I think that may have led it.
I was pretty close to what she said. I was impressed because I thought, oh, wow.
Which I didn't know about it until that meeting.
So that would be a potential location. Obviously, it's in the public record. So if it did go that the city council was responsive to the people in the room that denied this location, then other locations could be.
Absolutely, yes, yeah.
I want to make sure I understood that right. And then, do you know offhand what the size of the parcel is that you're talking about? Right.
I think it's 6 to 10 acres total. Are you talking about the total size of the city property that they're talking
Yeah,
about?
that piece that's
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Then I think we have a path forward that satisfies the need for closing the gap in the cell phone coverage, because there's been a parcel that identified as a candidate parcel, and we have the preferences of the people of West Fork that it not be located there. So I think there's a path forward where we get the coverage we need, and we don't put, of course, I was confused by this picture because I can't find the cell tower, all I see is the trees, but not to put it in that location. So I think there's a win-win.
Could we win with that if you could only see the trees here?
That was going to be my question. If you only see the trees, then obviously the cell tower is not.
I'm picking at you.
Is not used. Now,
I think
my question.
I think he's having me on, and I think you're serious.
Actually, a little bit, sir. You might have been being facetious, but I was being a little bit back. Now, my question with you is, and it's not really necessarily towards you, but it's actually to what I understood him saying earlier, is this is the location that's most viable for the company. So I don't necessarily know if you are correct in saying that moving forward, that we have a path. But I don't know if there is a necessary path, because that's not what they're wanting.
I did hear that also, and I agree with your point. However, when a corporation tells me in their first meeting what is most viable for them, I look twice, because we've all been around the tracks. Corporations are created there as an entity to make money for the shareholders and for the board. They make money by supplying a product. And when they change something, they do it to make more money. So when they go into a meeting, they ask for exactly what they want that would be the easiest thing, the straightest forward. It's not necessarily the only way forward. And when a cell company tower comes and tells us that they want to provide us better coverage, what they're telling us is that they want more customers so they can make more money, and they don't want competition to come in and poach on their area. So this is not, corporations aren't bad. They're created, though, they're not people. They're created very specifically to make money. And sometimes they make money by providing the best service. So let's not think that their initial offer is the only thing that they can do. They'll come, they're used to negotiating. They come in, how would any of us come into a
So
negotiation?
before we go down this road, are you, and I just want to clear the air because we're getting off track a little bit about negotiations. Are you saying that you're for the cell phone tower if we negotiate a better deal?
You didn't phrase that the way I would.
Okay. I'm just,
Could I phrase it?
yeah, absolutely. I'm just saying
Okay, I understand. I would be for the cell tower, a cell tower, in a location that could be found that served, that the people of West Fork were more in favor of, and closed the hole in coverage. And I believe that that location probably exists but it's not in the interest of Verizon to go out and research that. It's in the interest of the people of West Fork and the city council to be sure that they're serving what the people of the city want and what the needs of safety and cell phone coverage are. And I don't think it's been done yet. We've got their offer, their first offering, and we haven't gone beyond that.
So real quick, that's incorrect. This is the fourth offer that we're actually talking about.
Location?
No, same location, fourth offer. I want to make sure that you didn't miss the fact that this started in 2020, right? So this has been talked about a long time. And I also take, the city is not going to do Verizon or whoever's building this tower's bidding for them. And what I mean by that is they came to us and said, hey, we're interested in that site. And that's all we're here to consider. We're not here to consider, is there a better site for Verizon or whoever's building the tower? We need to decide, is this site and this contract, is it suitable for the city on this piece of property? Because that's what they've offered to lease. So no, the city isn't going to go south down the river and ask other landowners if they're interested in having the tower. That's not our work. We want to look at the project that's been proposed to us and make a decision, yes or no, we're in favor or we're not in favor.
If I could go back just a couple of phrases there. You gave the impression that your only concern is looking at what's good for the city. That seemed to exclude what the people of the city want.
Do the people of the city not consist of the city?
Do the people of the city not consist of the letters?
They absolutely do, sir. But what we've heard is, we've heard some people say, I'm for the tower if it's just in a different location. I've talked to members on the council who have said, we've received emails of people who are for the tower, right? So we have a representative here of mostly people that are against the tower. I give you that, but that doesn't mean that this is the entire representation of the city of West Fork.
Is there a silent majority you're referring to?
No,
How many people's in West Fork? How many people in town?
You always have to make a judgment as to the consensus of a population by the input you get.
I think that's absolutely.
You don't have another metric to use.
That's absolutely.
What other metric would you use to assess what all the people?
So I gave this definition several years ago, and someone got really mad at me, but conforming to what the majority comes in here and says is not our job. Our job is to set the rules and to vote on those rules. And once the rules are in place, to enforce those rules. We're not to be swayed by a mob.
Oh my God.
Ma'am, I'm not calling you a mob. I'm simply saying that is not, our job is not to, there's 30 people showed up tonight, we need to vote with them. Our job is to invite you into the meetings where we're creating those rules, and nobody has showed up, right? So, but the point is, we have a set of rules that we decide these things on, and it's not, do we care about the citizens? Absolutely, but it's not just because 40 people show up, we're going to vote with them. That's absolutely, we're a representative republic. We're to represent you, not kowtow just because a certain number show up. I just think that you're expressing something on me that I can't go forward with as far as representing people because how many showed up.
You mentioned that you're supposed to respond to rules. So is there a rule that says, that's giving you the feeling that the cell tower has to be in that location? You said you discussed it 4 times and it was always at the same location. Was there a rule that you feel says that you have to approve that location?
Absolutely not. Have we approved that location?
Well,
that's what we're here to discuss.
You seem to imply that you operate on rules which were in favor of that location.
I did not mean to give you that impression at all. I'm simply saying we are here operating by rules to evaluate a proposed lease and vote on that, either a yes or a no. I haven't said we're approving it or just, I'm not even going to get to vote unless it comes to a tie.
Well, I think that pretty well airs everything. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Jeff Baker, 560 McKnight Street. Mayor,
Mayor?
council members, how's everybody doing? Good? I'm against this tower in that location. I have a suggestion that maybe the Verizon or the contractor will at least address. And, somebody mentioned that in Fayetteville, you don't see the cell towers. Well, they've gone to small cell towers. And they're the size of a backpack or a cooler, and they can put them on city utility poles. You have to put more up, but they're not noticeable, other than, something's on that telephone pole. And they carry a lot of the 5G signals. And West Fork should be a progressive city. We want everybody to have service, but we should also be ready for the future. And if we can start getting some of these small cell towers placed in the city, and it's going to be more than one, because they're a higher frequency and they just don't go as far. But I think it would set us up for the future, because that's a 25-year lease.
Potentially,
And
yes.
in 25 years, we're probably not going to need that tower. And so,
Do we think it'll still be there if there's not a need for it,
well, somebody will have to take it down.
which is in the contract?
Okay, well, good. But my point is, we're probably not going to need that in so many years. I don't know what that is.
100% agree with you, yeah.
Technology is changing fast. But you failed to acknowledge another mayor earlier, Mayor Throgmorton. So
I acknowledge her every month.
So I just want to get her to. And, I'm sorry.
Way to go, Mr. Baker.
I'm sorry. Dawn Rollins, Mayor Rollins. I forgot all about Mayor Rollins. How could you do that? But anyway, thanks for you guys. Thanks for sitting in those seats. No, it's not easy sometimes. That seat's not easy, but I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, sir, for your comments and for having a solution, not just a.
Well, we should look at it. We should at least have, somebody should look at it.
So is he able to comment about that suggestion?
Sure.
Representative? Is that an option? Potentially.
Small cells, at this location, no, it's not. The small cells are kind of in the past now. The 5G signal is mainly being operated off cell towers. But because like he said, the signal just does not travel far enough. And you've got to have hundreds and hundreds of these small cells, telephone poles, metal poles, and they're not practical. We tried that route, and it doesn't work.
We would need hundreds in West Fork.
Not hundreds, but they only go like 500 feet. But at this location,
But I think it's something the council should, and I don't think this is exactly true. 5G is using those in Fayetteville, and they do go further than 500 feet.
they've fallen back on.
But it does take more than one.
And they've fallen back on using 5G antennas on the cell towers because they broadcast further.
Yeah, but.
Hang on, let's not get into a direct conversation with Brent. We told him we wouldn't do that. We've got another guy that would like to come up and address us, so I think Brent has answered that question to the best of our ability at this point. Yes, sir?
I'm not against the tower.
Okay,
Okay? I have health concerns.
okay.
I know he mentioned cancer, which is a big thing that people look at. But there's all other things that radio frequency does other than cancer. He mentioned Cancer Society. Has anybody looked at LCC Section 704?
So no, we have not, and we will not. So the council is not going to take any health or environmental concerns under consideration because of the fact there's a federal law that basically says we can't do that. So in 1996, President Clinton and Congress passed the Telecommunications Act, and we can have the city attorney go into more of that, but so we're not going to.
They do recommend something, though. They recommend 300 meters.
I'm not sure what you're.
A school or anything like that would have to be outside the 300 meter range.
Okay.
Somebody wants to get a calculator, figure out how far 300 meters is. It's quite a ways. So
Okay,
that's just,
yeah,
I'm not against the tower, I just want to be.
you're against the
safe.
location.
No, I'm not even against the location, if it's safe.
Okay, fair
That's all
enough.
I'm interested
Yeah, fair enough. Appreciate that.
in.
Yes, sir?
Hello, my name is Brad. I'm a first responder for West Fork. I'm also a citizen of West Fork. I live inside the city limits. So, I'm for the tower. Reason why, as a first responder, I've been in houses, people's houses, dealing with domestics or any other things. My radio doesn't work. My cell phone doesn't work because I am on Verizon. So, what happens usually if I don't respond to a radio call, whenever dispatch calls for me, and I don't respond, they send everybody. So now we're risking lives of other people outside of the city, cops running code to me, trying to figure out what's going on. So I am for this tower. I do believe, as someone that goes around West Fork everywhere, I've been in multiple places where my phone is now SOS mode, and I'm not able to reach out or they can't call me. So that's all I have to say, as a first responder point of view. Yes?
Okay, so how come you haven't brought this up before, and how come y'all don't switch services?
So
Or try other services?
it is it's my phone, and I've been a Verizon contract, or been with
So we
Verizon
pay
for
all
about.
$50 a month to get whichever.
I am
phone.
like $56 a month locked in, 'cause I've been with Verizon for about 15, 16 years. And if I switch to something else, I'll probably be paying $120, $140, $150. So
But
I'm
the
pretty happy
city
where I'm at.
gives- Right, but the city gives you $50
Yes.
to get whichever phone that you feel is best.
And it pays for my
your
phone
job.
bill that I use every day for my job.
Right.
Correct.
I don't know, that's where I'm at on, if you already know that you don't get good service,
Mhm.
you're putting your own self in danger because you don't want to spend an extra $50.
No, I'm very happy with my cell phone bill that pays for my phone, and I'm happy right where I'm at. And I don't plan on switching. Just like everybody else has a voice and a reason they can be here if they're upset about the tower. I'll be upset if I switch to AT&T and I'm paying $150. Unless the city wants to pay $150 a month for me, I'll do it. Whatever you want.
Well, I mean, if you know that you don't have good service,
Mhm.
you're putting your own self at risk and others at risk because you don't want to pay the extra money. Why don't you ask us for more money if the $50 isn't cutting it?
I will find out what an AT&T costs, and I will send it over.
I mean, you see what I'm saying?
If that's what the city wants to do, and the city council wants to approve, that's something we could look into.
Well, I wondered why we're not having, everybody doesn't have good service, and you know that, but that's why you've not took it upon yourself to actually get a better service, because you don't want to pay the extra money.
Sir, I appreciate the fact that you use your own money and your own contract that covers all your own personal